here is the scramble. I'm going to memorize, I normally memorize wings first, then placentals, then accentals, and then I do a 3BLD at the end with corners and midges, and then I solve them in the reverse order. So right now I just show you the corner memo, which is uh, TINX and then DOD, so we have parity. So first I'll do the corners, and then I'll leave the last corner target for later because I have parity, so I'll solve that at the end. So let's do midges, so AP and I'm using DF buffer, so S and then cycle break 2 and CX and FH and ET, and then V is my last target. So I'll just remember V and D for later, and then I'll just solve them later. So now I'll do the accenters. So I use UBL buffer for accenters. So green, so I and then Q. So it's U2, RPM U2 insert. Then it's EB. So that I'll probably just do an L setup. This and undo. Then JV. That's a simple 8 mover. And then white again, so D and then M. So it will be U2 I U prime R prime U2 I and SG, which is also an 8 mover. Then WT. So for WT I'll do a D prime setup to a 9 mover R. T. And I'll have to break into a new cycle with KO. That's an 8 mover. HL. Then red NX. So D. I'll do it this. Wide R. And finally last com for accenters PK. So R. So accenters are done. Now I'll do placenters. This is my buffer UL. So U, and I use a spef scheme for placenters. So UE, which is 9 mover M prime setup. Then this com and undo. And MQ is 8 mover. Then FT. So I'll probably do the L2 setup. VI. For VI I might do this. Rotate and GW. R M prime setup. D. So this is also 9 mover. Then AH U2 BK. And this will go to NS. So R setup. Okay. Then this CPL. So I'll do this. And then I have parity, so I'll just do LB to finish this off. And now since the center are done, now I can do the remaining edge. So I'll do it with M2, and then I'll use this parity alg u prime f2 u m2 u2 r2 u2 f2 r2 f2 u2 r2 u f2 u. So this fixes the m slice and solves these two edges. So then I'll do a y pump, and now I have parity fixed and only wings are left. So for wings I use DFR buffer. So this is LE, which is a wide U prime setup to an 8 mover. IP, it's a simple 8 mover. And CK, which is, I'll normally do this L prime U setup. Wait, CK. Yeah. Then JQ, which is a 9 mover. DW, which is a B2 setup to an M2 case. Then VO, so I'll do an like a S prime setup, 8 mover. S HM, which is just a U setup to a 9 mover. And TA, 8 mover. Now buffer is solved, so I'll break into a new cycle with B. So BS, rotate an 8 mover. Then FR, rotate an 8 mover. And GX, so I'll do this setup, inner S, and then NB to finish. So wide U prime setup, U prime LU M2, U prime L prime U M2, wide U. Yeah, so that was the solve. A lot of my comms definitely aren't optimized yet, but they're mostly for simplicity, as I haven't really gone through my comms yet. But yeah, I think with this I can average around 5 to 6 minutes.
Hello everyone. So before I start, I'm going to mention a few things. First off, my solving orientation is WCA, so I also scrambled accordingly. As for the way I solve, I use freestyle for all of the pieces. And as for how I memorize, I do the X centers audio, so I memorize them last and solve them first. But everything else I do in one consecutive string, starting from the plus centers, then midges, then wings, and then corners. Alright, now I'll start tracing the plus centers. The way I do it is I use my fingers to help me keep track of where I am on each face, and I always go in a clockwise direction, starting from those pieces. As for the memo, I'm not gonna go too much into what I memorize, because I mainly use German, so my words aren't gonna be of much use. But either way, I start with my buffer, which is UR. I go I, E, M, Q, F, S, A, G. So now I'm at 4 pairs of a group of 4 letter pairs, yes. And I usually group those together, and maybe I'll repeat it in my head and then I continue, just to get some more structure to the letter pairs. Then I continue U, H, BN, TV, KP, LD. Then I have W, which is a single letter, but I usually with single letters I just put an X at the end, and I'm done with the plus centers. Now for the midges, I actually use a sort of weak swap technique, and it helps that I memorize them before the wings. So I start with the buffer, which is UF, ZF, HE, TU, and now I hit the buffer piece, which, okay, usually I would probably hit here, but this is already solved, so I don't think there's a point in that. So I just do A, P, S, K, A, and we're in an odd letter, so I have to append the B to it, and I know that I'm gonna have parity, so I keep that in mind for the wings, because for the wings I'm going to do the UF-UR swap, and so I'm memorizing that next. So we're going to the wings next. This is my buffer, so I go J. Usually it go here, but this came up immediately because of the UFUR swap. I have to go here instead. So JM WL HZ GT. That is my first 4 pairs. So I memorize them together. Now I go CK. Well, my letter scheme is a bit off, but bear with me. PA ES OU. So that's the next one's done. Now I have R, and this one usually goes here, but now it goes here. So I have to break into a new cycle. So I go RQ. I just do it intuitively, you know, after some while you'll figure out which ones you haven't touched yet. And it is a sometimes hit or miss, but anyway, RQ, IF, DB, NQ. So that's another 4. So we have 12 pairs and no parity. And now finally I go to the corners. This is my buffer, so I go P, immediately have to shoot a new cycle. I go B because that's an easy cycle. PB, O, M, H, F, B. And that is parity, which confirms everything else in the solve. I've already seen during edges, so I did the swap accordingly. So this is a J perm that's going to be left. And I append an X to memo it, so B would be box. And this concludes my sentence/visual. Now we come to the X centers, which is the audio part. The reason I use X centers and not plus is because I practiced 4-blind a bunch more and I've gotten comfortable with it after long practice. So I do it for 5-blind as well. So I start here with my buffer, go I, Q, E, A, J, Ch, B, M. And I use the same thing with the fingers that I explained before. And okay, now this comes up. I would normally shoot here, but I have to skip it because I have to break into a new cycle if I do it. So I go T, G, K, N, W, O, L, P. Then I have H, Z. And now I see this is blue, which belongs on the back side, and the only thing I have left is that white sticker. So I know this is my last one. And to keep the rhythm, also for this, I append an X. So let's say, okay, I'm not gonna speak it out, but SX. And then I would start executing. Alright, IQ is an 8 mover. EA is as well. JB is also pretty easy, it's a 10 mover. EM. Like this. Okay, TG. KN, I do the F prime, so I have them on the same axis. And WO, yeah, I rotate them to do a D2 to have my setup for the 8 mover, which isn't ideal, but that's what I do. LP is just an 8 mover. For this I rotate and do an F2. Well, I do an L2 and then I rotate, so I have an 8 mover. And now I have those. And since it's the last one, I just do this commutator. Sorry, like this. There's no point in doing something more involved because I'm already done. Moving on with plus centers, we have here to here, which is just an 8 mover. And this to this is also an 8 mover, except from the back. Now this to here, it's a bit awkward, but I do setup move and continue to A to G. Once again from the back, an 8 mover, UH, this. Now BN, once again an 8 mover, T thing. Okay, I move it to here. Here to here. LD, okay, this is awkward, but the way I do it is this U2 thing. Okay, and then now this is the final one. Once again, I can just do a commutate like this because everything else is solved. Now for the wings, I start with ZF. It's sort of a variant of what I would do for free blind, except I can't do those weird moves, so I just rotate. Okay, now HE using D moves. TU, rotate to make it an 8 mover. Now a new cycle, AP. SK. Once again, I also can't use the standard out, but then I do something intuitive. Okay, A to B. I just do a sort of a U-perm, and now as you see I have this swap, and then I can start with my wings next. Now for the wings, this is my buffer, and I start here to here, so I do a little slice. Then it's like this, WL is an 8 mover, this interchange, HZ, okay I have to do D to R prime, and insert, GT, D setup, CK, it's sort of a 9 mover, lengthy 9 mover like this. PA, this one's a bit easier, it's just a U interchange, ES, alright, I have to do this to get those two together, to interchange like this and back. Those are on the same piece, so I wrote it in, force them not to be. Then I have a D2 interchange, RQ, it's my cycle break. Should I do it? Yeah. DB is a U-perm, sort of a U-perm. Then this one is just an easy 8 mover to finish us off. Now finally we're left with corners, so this is my buffer, and I have this and I shoot to here. OM, HF, which is an interchange here with the easy free move insertion. And now finally for parity I just have a J-perm, and I'm done. Thank you all for watching, if you're actually watching this far. Have a nice day.
Alrighty, 5 blind walkthrough time. So for memo, my order is plus centers, corners, midges, wings, X centers. I do 3 pass for all the pieces except for X centers, and I try to basically 1 pass X centers. So I just go through the first 4 pieces, so plus, corners, midges, wings, and just go go through those in that exact order 3 times in a row. I do sentences for those and audio for the X centers. So yeah, to start out with plus centers, UR is my buffer, and I use specs besides X, because instead I use Y. So yeah, so I basically memo sentences in groups of 6 pairs. So I basically always split plus centers up into 2 sentences. So like my first sentence would look like IE MQ Michael FT Fat UG UG VK Vic NS NIS. Now I'm not gonna really be too descriptive about what I think of and like how I make my sentences, but basically just well, the reason for that is because a lot of my letter pairs are either dirty or only make sense to me, so they wouldn't be that useful to describe. But the basic idea is that I try to think of any way to even any way to associate my letter pairs with each other, even if it's in the most abstract way, as long as it's something I can understand and remember. I do rarely, well, it's not that rare actually, it's just every so often I add some filler words in the sentence to make it, like, if I need to do that, for it to, like, make at least a little more sense so that I can remember it easier. But usually with those, I don't even sub-vocalize them. I have a lot less emphasis on them so that I know that they're filler words. So, like, just as a quick example, I guess, with this sentence, I wouldn't really do any filler words. It's kind of like an abstract thing to explain. But anyways, so after the first sentence, it's, let's see, I think I left off, so after S, it's AH, so CP cap, LD lad, and then W. So, just to go over that again, I think I said, let's see, it was A cap lad W. So, yeah, I'd memo what I would think of those two sentences to be, and then I'd move on to corners. So my buffer is UFR, so I go here, which is P, here B, so PB is pub, OE, okie, HF, huff, and then here is B. So that's an odd amount of targets, which means that I have parity, and something I do just to help me remember that I have parity is like cross my legs. So that just helps me to know, like, in case I forget that there's parity. So then I would move on to midges. Oh, by the way, I do one sentence for corners and one sentence for midges as well. So YF, yif, HE, he, TV, like television, AP, app, SU, sa, and then, oh wait, I forgot I was doing UF, UR swap. Yeah, because I swapped UF and UR for both midges and wings whenever I have an automatic corner target. So it's Y, F, if, HE, he, TV, television, BA, ba, like a sheep, PS, piss, UA. So if, he, TV, bat, piss, UA. Maybe filler word type of thing that I would use here for my sentence is like YF, I think of a person, and HE is he, like pointing to somebody and saying he is, or like he, just talking about whoever that person is. So like maybe I would kind of think of like he is on the TV or something like that, and I guess those words would kind of be used as filler words, but I wouldn't really even like make my thought of each of those words clear in my head. I would just kind of conceptualize the idea of those filler words being there, if that makes any sense. Just because it helps me like internalize the memo. So yeah, that's my midge memo. So then for wings, I use UFR. So I do two sentences for wings. So here's how it'll go: JM, Jim, WL, will, HY, hey, GT, get, IU, PA, pa. Okay, so it's Jim, will, hey, get, IU, pa. So I'm just trying to think, like, with this sentence, if I would do any filler word type of thing. I don't really think there's anything I would do for that sentence. So anyways, next is ES, S, OV, of, RB, rub, NQ, NyQuil, KF, kef, DV, DB, dab. So yeah, then I'd think the sentence for that, and maybe like do a conceptualizing filler word type of thing, kind of like how I did with the midges. Anyways, though, I would just go through all of that memo twice more in a row to really solidify my memo, make sure that it's completely correct and that there are no mistakes. To save time, I'm not going to go over that here, but just know that's what I do. So yeah, lastly, I would memo X centers, and that's UBL buffer, and for this, I do the first 4 pairs as images, and spend a few seconds just thinking about this after, before I move on to the last pair, like all the remaining pairs, because I do all those audio, and I do try to do those kind of fast. So yeah, I go here, I, Q, G, J, good job, WM, woman, TH, Twitch. So then I would memo images for those specific pairs. Now here's where in the solver I would just spend a bit of time thinking about this, maybe like, I don't know, 5 seconds max, just to make sure I won't forget. But yeah, next I just go through the rest with audio. So Y, S, yes. Yeah, I'm just trying, since I'm explaining this, it's like hard to keep track of everything I've done, but I think next is B, yeah, so BK, book, NV, never, CO, company, LP, lip, and then E. So now memo is complete, and it's time to start exec. So my exec order, since I just went through X centers, I'm gonna execute that right after, so that it's fresh in my mind. So to start out, IQ, alg looks like this. Also keep in mind that the exact finger tricks and the way I execute the algs aren't really set in stone. I haven't really drilled 5 blind columns all that much, so I'm kind of just flexible with that depending on the alg surrounding it, because that depends on the grip. It like affects the grip that I'm in and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of different things that can come into play there. But next alg would look like this. Alright, here to here. I'd rotate. Next alg. Alright, YS, so D2. BK book. NV, never. CO. And LP and then E. So LP. Lastly, E. Now, since I only have one target here, I have to shoot to a target in the U layer after. So I would just do whatever makes for the easiest alg. I think in this case, this target makes for the easiest alg, because the comm looks just like this. So yeah, it's pretty quick. Now I almost always execute plus centers next. An exception to this would be if I just have no clue what my plus center memo was, and I forgot all of it, or at least a lot of it, and remembered a lot of other stuff. That I would start executing the other stuff as long as I'm absolutely sure that it's center safe. And what I mean by that is just that the algs would not mess up the centers, because for example, a Y perm would I believe that would mess up the orientation of the U center, so I'm just gonna undo that so that doesn't happen. Yeah, so this is where we left off. Okay, so then plus center exec time. So first comm looks like this. MQ. Keep in mind, I'm doing a lot of these flick type of things, similar to 3x3 finger tricks, but in reality, I would probably do a lot more of stuff like this, like R prime R, just because it's easier to do on 5 blind, for a lot of algs at least. But yeah, so my next alg would look like this. Here to here to here. I do some really bad algs, so just bear with me here, but I do something like this. I mean, I guess I thought I'd just point out that optimizing 5 blind columns isn't the big deal in the world. It isn't the biggest deal in the world anyway, unless you're at a very high level. There's still so much that can be worked on. Typically, I feel like a lot of times there's just so much room for improvement in memo, especially, that would be easier to address than going through all the comms and optimizing them. But yeah, so next is here to here. So my alg would look like this. Alright, VK, Vic. I like this comm because it's just an 8 mover, well, with STM at least. NS. Alright, AH, another 8 mover. I don't like this one quite as much though, but anyways, here to here. Okay, yeah, looks like this is exactly what I had memoed before, so that's good. Okay, and then again with plus signs we have an odd amount of targets, so I have to shoot to another one in the U layer. I think or the U layer or the D layer, because my last target is on the D face. I think I would also shoot, so well, let's see, what would I do? Yeah, I would also shoot here, because with this comm, okay, how do I explain this? Although this is my last target, I don't necessarily need to add another one on after that. Instead, I could add one on right before that. It's kind of just something you get used to with practice, like how I can go to another one on the same face basically, and then that one, and it'll still be correct. So like, instead of here to here and then something else, you'll just go here to another yellow, and then here. So, yeah, I probably overcomplicated that. It's actually pretty simple if you just spend a bit of time thinking about it. But anyways, the column looks like this. And now we are on corners. Well, okay. From here on out, I don't really have a specific order of exec. It's kind of just whatever I remember first. A lot of times it tends to be corners, like most often, so that's what I'll do. Yeah, so PB, alg looks like this. Here to here, OE, OP. HF, huff. You know, actually I don't know if I do that column on 5 blind. I know on 3 blind I do, but like, I'd probably do something more noobish like this on 5 blind just because it's like, the finger tricks are more simple, I guess. It's a little safer, you know. But yeah, that's it for corners because, well, okay. Corners aren't solved, obviously, because this needs to go here still. But I can't do this last target until after midges and wings. So I'll just have to keep in mind that it has to go to this spot at the very end. Anyways, though, next, let's see. I feel like it's a little more common for me to recall wings before midges than it is the other way around. I'm not too sure about that, though. Just gonna do midges actually first. So yeah, we go here to here. That looks like this. Now here and here. Here. Alright. Yeah, that. And then ba, that's just a U perm. Although I'd probably just do a U prime instead of rotating. Yeah. So, wait. Oh, did I seriously just... Wait, what did I just do? Oh. Yeah, so the alg would look like this. Don't know how I almost forgot that. It's a very, very basic alg. Anyways, though, yeah, here to here. And lastly, just a 4-move column. Alright, now for wings. Here to here to here. That looks like this. And here. Nice pure column. Alright, yeah. I mean, I don't really have much commentary, which is why I wasn't really saying anything, besides just here, and here. Figured, I would spare you guys some annoyance by not saying here, every single alg, so I'm just gonna stop with that for the rest of the solve. If I do have any more commentary, though, I will say so. Oh yeah, so here, it's because I'm breaking into a cycle break. I probably should have mentioned that some more during memo, but yeah, my cycle break order, I don't really have one that's set in stone, but I tend to do whatever is in the U layer first, and then, if not, then whatever is near the last piece I went to. Then if I still can't find a piece to cycle break to that I haven't already touched upon, then I'll just like look around the cube and see if there's, like, I would just look around the cube for whatever piece I need to cycle break to. It does tend to mess up my solve quite a bit. Like, that is something I need to work on, a more systematic way to deal with that. But anyways, yeah, so I would break to here because I'm doing UFUR swap, which is why, even though this isn't white-green, the buffer is like pseudo solved because you are swapped. So then I'll just finish up the solve with the jperm. And that concludes it. All right.
Alright guys, so here's our scramble. I checked it, it seems like it matches, so we are good to go. First things first is my buffers. My corner buffer is UBL, my midge is DF, wing is DFR, plus center is UL, and X center is ULB. My memo order is I memo corners, midges, wings, plus X, and then execute in reverse. I think this is optimal because when you solve centers first, you can then use solve center save algs later on, which are faster. Also, when you memo corners first, you know whether there's corner parity, so then you can do the wing and midge swap, which saves an alg. As far as when I review, I memo corners, review corners, memo midges, review midges, memo wings, and then I recall the first corner pair of corners, and then the first letter pair of midges, and then all of wings. When I do the first one, that's usually the easiest because it jots my memory to the rest of it. Then I do plus, review plus, I do X, and then solve everything. So I'm just going to trace through. I'm not really going to go through my letters because I have my own lettering scheme. I don't really do anything special with letter pairs except for the fact that I have 2 images for each letter pair. So I have both a noun and a verb. But anyway, corners. So we have here to here, here to here. Cycle break, we just break here, it goes here and then here. So we have parity, and now I know I did a wing swap when I move on to midges. So first one swaps here, oops, first one swaps, so it's here to here, 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 and here. Nice, so no more cycle breaks. We go on to wings. So here, and then we're doing the swap. So it goes here, here, I'll cycle break here, which goes here, 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 and then we're gonna cycle break here, 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 cycle break here. So I think this is something that you learn after just like doing a lot of solves. You get a feel for like where to cycle break and like whether you solve all the pieces. So I just like knew that we still need to cycle break here, 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 and then here, oh, here, here, and then here, which brings us back originally, even number of targets, no parity, that's good. And then plus centers. So here, 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 and there. Okay. And then X centers. Oh, here, 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 here. So this is kind of like when you see a U phase, you can skip it, so you can kind of try to avoid cycle breaks. So here, 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 and then there. Okay, so then let's start solving. Begin with X centers. So we go here to here, which is an 8 mover. Then we have here to here, which is another 8 mover. Here to here, and so this one is just a D2 setup. And then we have here to here, which is a fun out because it is a U wide setup. And then it cancels into a little U prime. Here to here, 8 mover. Then we have here to here, D setup into a wide insert. You can kind of cancel at the end. Then we have here to here, 8 mover. Then here to here, RF into a wide setup, a wide insert. Here to here, This one's kind of slow, but it's a standard 10 mover. And then we end here. So now when you only have one target left, there's something cool you can do. Instead of doing here into a U-face, because these U-face algs are usually pretty slow, you can actually go 2 targets. So you can go here and then here. So we just do that. It's a nice 8 mover. Plus centers, here to here, 9 mover. And then we have here to here, 8 mover. And then we have here to here, 9 mover. Here to here, another 9 mover. And then we have here to here. So for a lot of my algs, I like to do wide setup moves. So this one, I could do an R setup into the 8 mover, or I could do a wide R. And I like to do the wide R because at the end, you're manipulating the M slice. And the way that I finger trick that, it's nice because I don't have to grip twice. So I can do this and then shift over a little bit and then end that. Then we have here to here. And then we have here to here, U setup, 9 mover. Here to here, which is a pure. Then we have here to here. This is another case where I do the wide R. Use it a finger trick. And here's another case where we only have one target left. So instead of doing here into a U face, which would be a 9 mover at best, we can do a really fast 8 mover here to here. All right, and now on to wings. So here to here is just U2 into the 9 mover. Then we have here to here, 8 mover. Here to here. This one's kind of a tricky case. The best I found is you do a rotation, or you could do a UD, but I just rotate into an RD. And then we have here to here, little F. And then we have here to here. This is a 9 mover. Here into recycle rope there. So U prime into the 9 mover. If I can turn. Here and here. Wide L. You could do a little L, but I just feel like this is easier to finger trick for me. Then we have here to here. This is a U prime into the cancellation. Here to here, U2. And then we cycle broke here to here. So instead of, this one's kind of awkward, I just do a Z rotation into that. And then we have here to here. This one's kind of a bad case. You can do a D L wide into a U, right? But sometimes I want to be safe. I just do like this. Okay. And then we have here to here. And then finally here to here, which is our 9 mover. Okay, and then midges, here to here, U. And then here to here is our 8 mover. And here to here is kind of a 3 U wide. And then we have here to here, 8 mover. We have here to here, 9 mover. And then we finish up with corners, here to here. I am like Graham, I like to do lots of double moves. And then here to here. And then we finish up the cycle break. And end with a standard one pin. Yep, so that is about it. Nothing too special. Honestly, I think that as your cube size grows bigger, the number of like little execution tricks you have, it doesn't save as much time, right? As just grinding lots of solves and improving your memo. The tricks also have a somewhat high chance of messing up, but in the future, it will probably matter a lot more.
To watch it, because I think they watch it in class. Oh, that curious noise thing? Yeah. Who's the man in the yellow hat?
Done. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking with me this long. If you got through my solve and you're also at this part, kudos, I guess. So yeah, Five Blind is my favorite event. It's been for a long time. I was the 2011 world champion for solving Five Blind. I've held the world record for the single in the past, but at this point I would say I'm more of an enthusiast for it. I still like it very much, but my times are not even close to what all of you fast people put up. But I will go through briefly what my solve was. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on theory and stuff because a lot of what I use is pretty old and probably outdated at this point. But so method-wise, I do use BH or Beyer Hardwick. So basically, Daniel Beyer and I in 2006 came up with, I guess in today's terminology, we would say it's move optimal commutators or move optimal 3 style. So that's still what I use, to be honest. I don't, for some of the cases, I do replace them with conjugate. So I'll do a setup and then a faster alg and a setup, but it's still pretty close to move optimal. Among the seniors, so I compete in the seniors comp for blindfolded events pretty regularly, not so much the last couple months just with work and having 2 kids and all that, but my solving times are generally pretty fast for other people of my like age group, and I think part of that is down to the fact that I don't turn as fast as you fast people, so move optimal is a pretty big advantage for me, at least for, you know, my peers, I guess you could say, like people that are at about my skill level. And memory method, I use kind of a combination of images and auditory. Pretty much everything is images. I do use auditory for the edges, like the midges, I guess. And I use visual actually for the centralmost centers. So I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that's the kind of like in a nutshell. Basically, yeah, I love Five Blind. I have for years. Gonna still keep doing it, still keep competing it, all that good stuff. And I guess like, yeah, let's just jump to the solve quick. And I'll keep this, again, pretty brief because a lot of you are using way more advanced stuff than what I use, to be honest. Okay, so I scrambled my orientation, and so I do rotate the cube for like optimal center solving. It's a lot like you would do on 4x4, but there's a void cube parity. So any single rotation will do 2 4 cycles of corners, which is an like odd permutation parity change, and then it will do 3, or sorry, even. It's even permutation parity because I'm doing 2 4 cycles. But if you look at the edges, I do a 4 cycle here in the E layer and on the bottom. So I'm doing 3 4 cycles, which is an odd permutation parity. So you get you like void cube parity basically. So I have to make sure that of the 24 possible cube rotations, I only pick from the 12 legal ones. I have investigated a parity alg that will like cycle 4 centers, and then it also is going to have to switch 2 corners. Oh, no, sorry. You just cycle the 4 centers, but then you have to cycle the 4 edges too. The midges, I guess. But yeah, I've looked into some algs, and of course I have some algs, but they're way too long and not anywhere near fast, and it's not even worth like at my turn speed, it's not worth it to do that. It's better to just pick a legal orientation. So basically, I didn't know this during the solve. I looked at this afterward, but the initial orientation is pretty bad for solve centers. That's all I'm looking at to optimize the solve centers. It's not great, and I counted it later. I've got 8 solve centers, which is like, it's okay, I guess. You're expected to have 6, I guess, so it's a little bit better than average, but now that I'm used to rotating, it's just kind of like, it's mediocre. So I rotated, I guess I did y prime x, no. From the start, I did z prime, y prime. Okay, so what this does is this gives me 12 solve centers. So basically, like, what started as u is now f, and what started as f is now r. And basically, I noticed that there's a big block of orange here, so I just kind of threw that on the orange side, and then that gives me 2 rotations to look at here. So this is, I think this actually is the optimal orientation. I was looking at it later, but I've just practiced basically find a big block of colors, put it on its side, pick from the 2 legals, and pick the one that has the best. Because, when I first started doing this center rotation thing, I'd take like 30 seconds to find the optimal orientation, which is like pointless. I mean, I could have just started memorizing and it'd be way faster. So I learned if I just find the biggest block of solid colors on one side, put it on its side, and pick from the 2 legals, I can get this down pretty quick for me. So probably like 5-10 seconds at most, which is actually kind of worth it, because you know, if I saved 2 cycles out of that at my turn speed, that's worth an extra 4 or 5 seconds. Like, I'm not going to be able to execute those that fast. So then I basically did the memorization. I guess because my solve is so long, I don't want to keep this video too long. This is more just kind of describing it. The rest of the solve is, honestly, it's not that exciting. It's just pretty much standard textbook BH method. So I guess I'll tell you my order. So I memorized plus centers. This is all journey method, by the way. So I use journeys. Each location, I put 3 images, and each image is a letter pair standing for 2 pieces. So I did T centers, X centers, wings, and that's all journey. And I'm usually doing like mini reviews in those, and then I'll do a review at the end of all that, because that's the end of my like journey stuff. And then when I get to corners, I actually still use journey for corners, but I sort of like mentally separate it off because I'm just doing a 3-blind solve. I start with all the 3x3 stuff first. So in my mind, I sort of like section off, okay, now we're gonna do a 3-blind, but it's still in the locations of the same journey, if that makes sense. So I do the corner memo, and then I do the midge memo completely by audio. I have a single syllable audio list that I came up with years ago, like 2006, I think, or somewhere around then. So I don't do any cool stuff with like putting 4 letters together that makes sense. It's just every letter pair is a single syllable word. And then I do the center orientations, and I just use quick commutators for this. So, you know, the orange is supposed to go there, green goes there, yellow goes up, and I just do like basically these like MU style or MES or whatever, like those kind of 3 cycles. And you know, that's pretty much it. So I'll cut this off just because I don't want the video to get too long, but I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope it was interesting, and I feel honored to be asked to jump in on this video. Thanks very much.